All right, guys, we're going to take a look at one more possibility for when we're doing a mixed number times a fraction. One of the easiest ways to do any fraction times fraction is to just do an equation where we're multiplying it. The problem with one of the strategies we showed you is you have to break this apart. You don't always have to break it apart. I could, instead of breaking things apart, I could take the 2 3/4 and I could change it into an improper fraction instead of the mixed number it is now. So the 2 3/4, if I want to change that into an improper fraction, I need to take this 2 and I need to change that into the fraction denominator we have here, into fourths. So I need to either draw out a quick picture to see, okay, let's see. Yep, here's 2 wholes. If I break it up into 4, it makes 4, 8. It makes 8 fourths. All right, so breaking this up into fourths would make 8 more fourths. 2 times 4 is 8. I already have 3/4 there. So 8/4 plus the 3/4 makes this whole number here is actually the same thing as 11/4. Now I'm taking the 11/4 and I'm multiplying it by 1/4. Now that they're just both fractions, doesn't matter if it's improper or not. Now I can just multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, and call it a day. 11 times 1 is 11, and 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, now this will work for some of your numbers. Like this worked out great for this one. But I'm going to show you another one, and I'm going to show you one of the downfalls of this strategy. All right, so here we go. Almost the exact same thing, 2 3/4, but now I'm doing times 4/5. Okay, so we already know what happens over here. If I take this 2 and I break it down into fourths, it's going to make 8, which turns this term into 11/4. Okay, but now I'm multiplying it by 4/5. Okay, so when I multiply, I end up with 44, and 4 times 5 is 20ths. Now, seeing what happened here, since this wasn't something as small, I end up with a mixed number and a rather large one. And we talk about this. In the real world, you're not going to go and buy 44/20ths of something. People aren't going to understand what that means. They're not going to take time to think about it, and they're probably going to mess it up. So, realistically, what's going to need to happen? You need to break this down into something more manageable, which means division. So that's our big problem with this strategy of turning it into an improper fraction. If you don't know how to simplify and divide, this strategy is very difficult. So 44/20 is the same thing as saying 44 being divided by 20. Remember, division, fractions, same things. So how many groups of 20 are in 44? Okay, well, there's 2 of them. Okay, 2 times 20 makes 40. When I subtract, I have 4 left. Okay, so I make 2 wholes. I have 4 left. Those 4 are still being divided by the 20. So I have 2 and 4/20. Now, yes, I realize that does simplify down to either 2/10 or 1/5. But for today's purpose, at least that's a little bit more manageable than 44/20. Okay, so that's one more strategy you can try out today when you're multiplying mixed numbers times fractions. Keep this strategy in mind when we move on to mixed number times mixed number. Again, that's going to make, since 11/4 a mixed number, this numerator is going to be even larger, which makes this numerator over here even larger. So, but if you're good with division and you're good with simplifying, this is actually a pretty decent strategy to use. So again, all comes down to just knowing your personal skill set and thinking about what should you do, what's going to make the most sense.